Well, hello everyone, and welcome to UXI-115. This course is UX Process and Theories. In this live session, we are covering week 6, usability testing. So let's go ahead and get started with today's agenda. So for today's agenda, we're going to do a course overview, as always. We are also going to do an overview of week 6. I'm going to also provide you with some resources. And then at the end of this live session, I'm going to give you some reminders for week 6. I know we are in week 5, but you guys know that I like to provide the video for the next week because we do not meet next week. As always, the live session is being recorded. You can find this live recording underneath web meetings. And also it will be shared to our class YouTube if you would like to view it there. You can keep your video on, but I understand if you have to turn your video off. And I would prefer your mics to be muted, but please let me know if you're having any issues, either in the chat, or you can unmute yourself if you're having any issues viewing the live session, or you're having any audio issues when I play some of the video footage later on. Again, I would love for you to engage in the chat. I do have a few questions to ask you guys. And if you are not going to be able to attend this live session and you're watching this as a replay, please make sure to watch the entire video and provide me with your takeaways from our live session so you can receive full credit. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Course overview. So in this course, you will learn key theories and processes to help you create usable, useful, and delightful products that answer users' needs. You will also work with software tools such as Adobe XD and Figma. So let's discuss our course project. Throughout this course, you will focus on redesigning an existing restaurant mobile app by identifying problems, performing user research, producing and improved product design, and conducting usability testing. Now, the goal of the course project is to produce a better user experience in the existing restaurant app and create a UX case study asset to add to your growing capstone portfolio. So let's go ahead and dive into week 6. And the topic for week 6, again, is usability testing. So what is usability testing? Now, before I get started with the definition of usability testing, I would love to know, have you heard of usability testing before? So if you have, in the chat, please drop a 1 in the chat. You can send this directly to me. And if you have not, then send a 2 in the chat. And I'm going to give you a little bit of time just to answer this question. And we will go ahead and get started with the topic of usability testing. Okay. Also, if you are watching this as a replay, this is one of the questions that I ask that you provide your takeaway and send this directly to me in Canvas inbox so you can receive your full credit. All right, so what is usability testing? Our week 6 overview. So this week you will learn about usability testing, testing your product for usability and functionality once it has gone through the entire design process. You are going to be testing your app this week with a peer from this class. So please start early in the week. Now, our week 6 objectives. The topic, usability testing. We're going to define and identify quantitative research methods for usability testing, plan a usability test, track, collect, and measure test data, as well as create recommendations based on test findings and persuade from those results. Please let me know if I'm going too fast. I can definitely slow it down for you guys. I just want to ensure that we are going to cover everything because we are not meeting next week. So we're going to jump right into the definition of usability testing. It is the practice of teaching how easy a design is to use with a group of representative users.
Hi, today we're going to learn what is usability testing, how does it work, and when should you use it? What is usability testing? Usability testing is the process of assessing a product as it's being used by real people. By product, we mean any website, app, system, or platform that a person would use to perform certain tasks. Usability testing is when we put these products into the hands of actual users to see if they can easily find their way around, complete the tasks they need to get done, and generally understand how a product would be useful to them. Usability testing can be done at any stage of the product development process, with sketches and prototypes, alpha and beta versions, and even live or legacy websites. How does it work? The usability testing approach usually depends on what the product is that's being tested, what stage of development that product is in, and what we hope to learn from the testing. Generally, this is how it works. First, we assess the product and determine what parts to test. Next, we develop a test plan, which includes who we will test and what they will do. Finally, we conduct the tests, analyze the results, and make recommendations. When should you use it? The simple answer to this is anytime. Since usability testing is helpful at any stage of the process, when to do it can be determined by what answers you're looking for. Employ usability testing when you want to check that you're headed in the right direction, identify which layouts work best, know where your users would go to find stuff, understand how to approach a design problem, and validate if users can really use your product. Usability testing can offer the most valuable insights because they involve real users doing real things in the real world.
Okay, so now that we had an overview of usability testing, we're going to go ahead and dive in a little bit more and discuss quantitative research. So by definition, quantitative usability test is a method where participants perform controlled key tasks in a system while you collect specific metrics that describe the user's experience and performance in those tasks. Now, some examples of quantitative usability data is completion rates, misclick rates, as well as time spent. So let's discuss some examples of quantitative user research methodologies. Number one, eye tracking studies. Two, product and analytics. Then you have A/B testing, quantitative usability testing or benchmarking, card sorting, which is an assignment that we completed in week 4 and we are discussing in week 5, as well as you will share your card sorting activity and engage with your classmates in this week's Yellow Dig discussion. Also, tree testing and surveys and questionnaires. Those are just a few examples. So in week 6, you're going to plan usability tests. So how do you plan the usability tests? Let's break down the steps. So you need to define the following elements. 1, the test objectives. 2, researching your approach. 3, the test moderator, which you are going to be the test moderator. 4, types of participants and how do you select those participants? And then 5, a list of tasks. Now, these elements will allow for a structured study and ensure that the resulting data is trustworthy. So I have a video that I'm going to play. It's a two-part series on how to run your usability tests. Now, there are several types of usability tests that you can have and create. Now, when you have an in-person usability test, you can either do a desktop or mobile in-person usability test, but this video in particular will discuss how to run a remote usability test since we are online, and you're going to share your usability tests with your classmates to get feedback. So let's go ahead and dive into the first part. And if you, again, are having any issues, please let me know either with the video or audio, and we can make some things work.
In this two-part series of videos, I'll walk you through how to run a remote moderated usability test. In this video, we'll look at starting the session. First, as with any moderated study, it's a good idea to send out day of reminders to participants. Confirm their session start time and tell them how long it's going to take. Tell them which devices or equipment they'll need, like their phone, their charger, and a pair of headphones, for example. If they need to install any kind of app in advance of the session, for example, Zoom, remind them to do so. You should also tell them how to join the session when it's time. That might mean providing the meeting link in the email or message. Finally, remind the participant to be somewhere where they'll have access to good, stable Wi-Fi and where they won't be interrupted by loud noises. And that is more necessary than you might think. Sometimes participants don't realize that those are two very important things. Next, you have to coordinate how you'll get your participants and observers into the session. In a physical space, this is pretty easy. You get the observers situated, sometimes in a separate observer room, while the participant waits in a waiting room. But in a virtual context, it can be a little trickier. Getting the observers set up usually includes recapping any important rules, like don't unmute yourself during the session. You might also want to give them a few details about the participant or ask them to watch for certain potential issues or opportunities. During this time, it's important that the participant cannot see or hear you or your observers. I really like using Zoom's waiting room feature for this. That way I can let my observers in before I admit my participant. If you're using software that doesn't have a waiting room feature, you can hold off on sending the participant the link to the meeting until you're totally ready. That approach can work fine, but it does add a few extra minutes to the beginning of the session. And you have to warn the participant that that is how you're going to bring them in. So next, you'll start the session with the participant. You want to welcome them and thank them and ask them how to pronounce their name correctly. That's something that might be good to do in a physical test, an in-person test, but in a virtual one, you'll need to use the participant's name more often to get their attention, especially since they can't see you while they're screen sharing. It's a good idea to briefly mention observers, particularly if the participant can see the list of people in the meeting and will know that they're there. I usually say something like, we have some people in the meeting with us, they'll be quietly observing and looking for ways to improve this product. If you didn't already have your participants sign a consent form in advance of the session, you can have them do it at this point. Then ask if it's okay to begin recording, and when the participant agrees, begin. Then you can ask the participant to start sharing their screen and begin to run the session. So we'll pick it up from here in the next video on running and wrapping up a test session.
All right, so with that being said, that was just part one, and I'm going to move on to part two of the remote usability test, which you will perform in week 6.
This is the second video in a two-part series about running a remote moderated usability test. We ended the last video having set up the test session with the participant sharing their screen. At this point, or right before the participant shares their screen, you might pause before beginning the session and ask the participant a few interview questions. Usually these will be relevant to the test. You might ask if the participant has ever used this app before, or you might ask behavior questions, things like, what kinds of things do you normally shop for online? These questions will give you context about the participant's experiences and preferences, but it will also help to make the participant a bit more comfortable talking to you. Next, you can start the session by administering the first task. I think it's really important to make sure that participants have a written copy of the task instructions that they can easily refer back to when they want to check what they're supposed to be doing. Many video conferencing tools have a chat feature, and that's my favorite way to deliver task instructions. I can just copy the text from my facilitator's guide and then drop it into the chat when it's time to do the task. The participant can easily open up the chat panel to review the task instructions during the test. People can sometimes feel very self-conscious in remote sessions, so I often find that they need a little bit of extra reassurance. In every single session I facilitate, I make a point of telling the participant that they're doing a great job. After the participant seems to have the hang of thinking out loud, I'll usually tell them something like, I know that this can sometimes feel really uncomfortable, but you're doing a great job thinking out loud, and this is exactly what we need. When the session is over, you'll ask any remaining follow-up questions. Then you'll thank the participant and tell them how and when they'll receive their thank you gift. In an in-person study, this is usually easy. Maybe you just hand the person an envelope with the incentive. When testing remotely, remember that people are often very anxious about making sure that they do get the incentive. So tell them specifically how and when that will happen. For example, you might say something like, you'll get an Amazon gift card in your inbox within 1 hour. Then ask the participant to leave the session, but you and your observers aren't done yet. Another downside of remote testing is that unless you plan for it, there's way less discussion and analysis with your team. Make sure you schedule at least 15 minutes at the end of each session for you to discuss with your observers and reflect on what you've seen so far. You'll also need at least another 15 to 30 minutes to reset and prepare for your next session. So make sure that you're leaving about 30 to 60 minutes in between each session when you schedule them. You might also want to have a larger research reflection workshop scheduled with your observers at the very end of the study. You can review and discuss findings to start the transition from conducting the study to analysis.
All right. So with that being said, you can always go back and preview these videos. I will make sure to add these resources in the announcement section for week 6. So you'll see that during week 6. I'll create a resource list for you guys. And then that way you can go back, reference to the videos, and I will also provide you with the slides. And of course, you can always rewatch this live session. But to move on, we're going to discuss track, collect, and measure test data, because this is what you're going to do in week 6 when you are discussing usability testing. So how to track data. There are a few ways to track test data in UX. One, you want to keep a digital or physical research journal to track the collected data using tests during your testing session. 2, you're going to create a dedicated research database where you will store all of your users' data. And then finally, you can use UX analytics tools such as Google Analytics or session recording tools like the one shown in the video prior. So how to collect your test data? There are a few ways to collect and test data in UX research design. So you have your online surveys, on-site interviews, user testing sessions, your focus groups, and then A/B testing. Now we're going to discuss how to measure test data. Now, test data is often measured using various usability metrics, which we'll discuss in the next slide. Some examples are task time, completion rate, task satisfaction score, error rate, or usability problems. Measuring your test data helps designers pinpoint what isn't working, such as if your app is being poorly written, if it's unengaging or unattractive, and then you use that feedback to help improve your work. Now, a good rule of thumb is to use a minimum of 5 users during your when you're measuring usability. So what are usability metrics? Usability metrics are a system of measurements of the effectiveness, efficiency, and satisfaction of users working with the product. So you have your success score and your error rate, which measures the effectiveness. And then you have your task time and time-based efficiency metrics, which measure the efficiency of the product. And then you also have your single ease question, or SEQ. And then you have system usability scale, which is SUS. And these two are the most efficient satisfaction metrics. Now, here are some formulas you may use within your usability test. So you have your success score, and the success score is the most used metric for effectiveness measurement. The success score would be somewhere between 0 and 1. Then you have your error rate. Now your error rate counts all possible errors. To calculate it, you will need to define the number of error opportunities and all possible slips and mistakes. Next, you have your error occurrence rate. So to find this, you would have to calculate the total number of errors and divide it by the number of attempts. This is recommended to count every error, even the repetitive ones. So we have a few more formulas that you might want to incorporate when you are measuring and collecting your usability data during your usability testing. So you have your task time, which is the majority of people that leave a website if it's not loading after 3 seconds. So this metric determines how users can save time and impact their user experience quite a lot. Now you have efficiency. To be more specific, this formula here on the left is your time-based efficiency. So there are many ways of measuring efficiency. One of the most basic is called time-based efficiency, which combines both your task time and your success score. And now we're going to move on to your single ease question. Now, this is compared to the previous complex formulas that we previously discussed. It is the simplest of them all. And you're basically asking a single question after the task. Now, here's a question, for example, overall, this task was, and then you allow your subject to provide you with an answer, 1 being very difficult, all the way to 7 being very easy. And lastly, you have your system usability scale. This is a list of 10 questions, and it's very similar to the previous scale that we were just discussing. So based on the answers, the product gets a score on a scale from 0 to 100. The average SUS is 68 points. Results over 80 are excellent. So this is another way you can test usability. And now we're going to dive into test finding recommendations. So what do you do after you went through the entire process and now you have your findings and your recommendations? So after you design your research plan and you recruit your participants, you conduct your interviews, you analyze the data, and you synthesize your findings, the next step is to show off all of your hard work. Your goal is to prioritize your findings based on the severity of the problems. So some examples, ways that you can showcase your findings and provide recommendations are through slide decks, email or Slack, case studies, sharing research artifacts with stakeholders. Now here's a video that talks about prioritizing your UX findings by severity.
The human mind loves to categorize and rank things. Review stars for restaurants, category numbers for hurricanes, even the size of your t-shirt. We use them all the time to make sense of large amounts of information and make better decisions. In user experience, we also leverage scales and categories. When we inspect designs based on heuristics or expertise, or conduct usability testing, we discover all sorts of findings. Instead of simply reporting those findings to your team as a giant list of grievances, it's helpful to categorize them on a severity scale. A severity scale is a relative ranking based on a finding's estimated harm to user experience. We can estimate that harm by assigning the finding a 1, 2, or 3 across several factors, such as how frequently it occurs, how impactful it is to user experience, how persistent it can be, and how detrimental it is to a product's popularity. Here's a good severity scale to use when communicating your findings. It has 5 ratings. High severity means the finding contributed to users stopping their task, or resulted in user frustration or self-blame for struggling with the experience. Medium severity means users could complete the task, but with observable frustration, notable slowdown, or after several attempts. Low severity means users could complete the task with just brief slowdown or confusion, or the findings mostly cosmetic. Then there are bugs. Now, not the creepy crawly kind. This is for when something is not working as intended. High severity may be true from a user experience perspective, but that's a bit unfair to your colleagues. They didn't want it to work that way either. So give them the benefit of the doubt and collaborate with them on documenting and fixing these bugs. Finally, there's good for findings that aren't problems at all. Use this rating when something appears to be consistently beneficial, helpful, or successful with users. Sometimes reviewing these findings can be demoralizing, but that's a natural human reaction to negative feedback. But all user experiences have good and bad aspects to them. Be sure to remind your team what's working well, too. Use these ratings to arrange your findings starting with high severity to low, with a few good and bugs mixed in between. If presenting the findings to your team, label each finding's severity clearly and have a slide in the back of the presentation for the scale for reference. By using this simple scale, you'll communicate more effectively with your team or stakeholders. They'll quickly understand a finding's impact and make informed decisions about priorities and resourcing. And if you consistently use the same severity scale, your colleagues will eventually learn it and trust it over time. And I rate that outcome 5 stars.
All right. So now that you've seen all of the information provided in regards to how you measure, conduct your usability testing, what is your biggest takeaway from today's live session? And you can send that directly to me in the chat. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to go ahead and send your takeaways over to me in the chat, and we'll move on to some reminders for week 6. Now, just for those that are going to rewatch this video, if you were not able to attend the live session from the beginning, please make sure to go back and watch this live session over and ensure that you send over those takeaways to me via Canvas inbox so you can receive credit. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and move forward. I'm going to provide you with some information in regards to our reminders for week 6, because we do not meet next week. And also, if you did not get a chance to attend the live session this morning, which is week 5, It provides a lot of information in regards to this week. So please go back and watch that so you can receive your credit as well. Now, in regards to the week 6 Yellow Dig discussion post, I want to dive into it a little bit more. So in regards to the discussion post within itself, you're going to choose any website or app that you think has some usability issues. And you're going to explain what the issues are within that website or that application. Now, example, why it may be confusing to understand, why you are not able to find something on that website or that app, or if you are unable to use one of the features within the website or the app. You want to look at least one other post from your classmate and then provide them with some feedback or suggestions as well. So the week 6 assignment. There are 2 assignments for week 6. You have your live user test, which is a group activity, and then you will have to choose a partner or group of 3, and you're going to give and obtain your user feedback on your app redesign. So that's something that we're doing right now in week 5. We're working on the app design, and then in week 6, going to move on to usability testing. So for that assignment, you're going to share your Adobe XD link with your partner, and I'll have a video after this slide to show you how you can collaborate in Adobe XD, and it's very similar in Figma as well. Now, for the second assignment in week 6, you're going to do a usability testing plan. And so with that being said, there is a template that you're going to download, and then you can fill in the required information that's highlighted in red. And then you're going to think about the different ways you can test for usability once you have your app redesigned. So in this video, it's going to show you how you can collaborate with your classmates, and when you share your URL for your Adobe XD app redesign. So again, week 5, which is what we're in right now, you're going to redesign your chosen restaurant app. And then in week 6, you're going to share this link so you can get some feedback from us, which is your classmates, and me as your instructor. And then you're going to incorporate that feedback to make your app better. So let's dive right on in.
Now I'm going to show you how you can use the Adobe XD collaboration functions to share and edit other users' designs. So you can share these with your partner, someone else you're on a design team with at work, and you can get comments back, do user testing, lots and lots of functionality. Now, right now we're in the prototype screen, and you can see all of the user flows, the workflows, how the app connects to the different screens within itself. When I go to the share screen, and you may want to click off of that so you have a clear view of what you have, but you click on share. And over here, and it's labeled Flow 1, which you can change that name. I mean, again, everything is editable. But what you're trying to do is create a link. So I've previously created a link testing this, but the setting that you want is design review. There are some other settings here, but design review gives the opportunity to comment, and I'll show you how to use this. So choose design review, choose anyone with the link. Now you can invite from here, but the way that we're going to do this is you're going to invite from the web. If you invite someone directly into XD, they can come in and edit the file, and that may not be what you want, but in some cases it may be. So there may be cases where working on a design, you may need someone to co-edit or co-work on the file with you, so alongside with you. for these purposes, you're not, but for future reference, when you're in a team environment, when you're in the workplace, you may actually utilize that as a tool. So for now, you're going to choose design review as the setting, and anyone with the link. And this would normally say create link in a new file, but I'm just going to hit update link. And then I'm going to copy this link. And make sure you see the green pop-up that says link copied. And then I'm going to go over to my Chrome window. Now you can see that I already have this file up here, but just to show you, I'm basically going to copy and paste this link in. And you can see that someone else has the ability to comment here. Now, one thing to pay close attention to, and that's a little bit confusing with this, is that if you were in full screen mode, you need to exit out of full screen mode. So if a blue notice pops up that says you're in full screen mode, get out of full screen mode. It can affect the comments. But what happened with this, if I can show you, I don't think I still have the link here, but it says something about full screen at the end of the link. Get rid of that. You just went up to here. And that's how you get into a mode where you can make comments. Now, I can invite someone here to make comments. And you can see invitation is sent. And what will happen is that person will get an invitation and they can come back through and it will show comments right here along the side. Now, this is a working prototype. So I can click this, it'll go to the next page. And if you remember in the workflow, they had to choose, they typed in Kingsford, you would type in Kingsford, it would give you one of these two options. And I would click go. And again, I'm testing this for user functionality. So I could go over here and make a comment, say I was the one that was invited. I could say, good functionality. Home screen 2, page 2 of the app. And hit submit. And you'll see the comments here. Now, I can reply to my own comment. I can reply to someone else's comment. I will see other comments. There's a lot, there's annotations you can make here. You can send them to a specific user, mention a specific user, but this is a way to, it's a collaboration tool. And you can still, you can continue, you can flip through screens here. And you notice that it gave me a comment on page 5, where I commented on page 5. It shows you the page number. Shows you what page I'm on. Now, where these files show are in my Adobe Creative Cloud files online. I can see this from the Creative Cloud app, but I can also access it online. Again, I can invite from here. I can make comments from here. And you're going to want to try this tool out for collaboration so that you know how it works. It's extremely helpful in the workplace, especially with as many jobs are remote today in the workforce, that you're able to collaborate online. I hope this video helps.
All right. Again, you are required to select a classmate, and you are going to share your Adobe XD link. And it is best for you to communicate with your classmate and ensure that you are making comments on every single screen. So even if you think that there is, like she wrote in the video, good functionality from your home screen, put that positive feedback into the comments. Now, if you feel as though that the screen should be redesigned, or if you have some ideas, please incorporate that. But it is important for you to provide a comment on each and every screen so that your classmate can take that user feedback and go back in and redesign and enhance their application. We have reached the end of our live session, so I'm going to provide you with some reminders. Here is the to-do list for week 6. You're going to check out the week 6 overview. Also, you're going to read chapters 15 through 16 of interaction design. You're going to watch the replay if you need to watch the replay of this video and live session AM, which was, we covered the week 5 information. And then you can preview all of this, the live recordings underneath the web meetings, or you can go to our class YouTube. Now, again, in Yellow Dig discussion for your week 6, you will have your initial post, which is due on Wednesday. And then you have up to Sunday to earn up to 1,000 points. Now, in Yellow Dig, remember, it is important for you to make that initial post on Wednesday, especially in week 6, because you will have someone, a part of your team, and you have to work with a classmate. So please show up for your classmate because they are going to show up for you to ensure that you both are receiving credit. Next, we're going to complete your Learn It, which is usability testing. That is due by Sunday at 11:59 p.m., as well as your activity 1 and 2. Activity 1 is the live user test, which is your group activity, due Sunday. And then you have your activity number 2, which is your usability testing plan, which is due also Sunday at 11:59 p.m. So, do you have any questions for me now that we are at the end of our live session? Okay, if you do have any questions after the session is over, please do not hesitate to reach out to me directly. You can message me through the text. You can also send me a message through Canvas inbox. I am here to help you. If you have any questions about this live session slides or video, this video is going to be, again, located underneath the web meetings. And then also you are able to preview the slides. I will provide the link to the slides underneath the announcement section, but I'll hold off for now because we are in week 5, but I will post the links to the slides in week 6. And then also you'll have access to the videos again on our class YouTube. So again, if you have any questions or if you need help coming up with some ideas, some concepts, or just issues working in Adobe XD or Figma, please again, reach out to me. And if you are watching the pre-recording for this video and you weren't able to attend, please send over your takeaways so you can receive credit. But that is the end of our session. I will see you guys not next week, but the following week, our very last live session. We are almost there. So I will see you guys later, and I hope you have a great evening. Bye.